The freezing wind cut through my coat as we rolled into the outskirts of Kharkiv in late January 1943. It was the kind of cold that seeps into your bones and stays there, like the dead weight of winter itself. Our armored vehicles groaned as they rolled through the snow-covered streets, their engines roaring, their iron hulls shaking under the strain of movement. The sound was a constant reminder that we were here, advancing, always advancing. The men of the Leibstandarte SS Adolf Hitler, my comrades, my brothers in arms, sat in tense silence, eyes fixed on the horizon, their breaths visible in the frosted air. We had been ordered here as part of Hauser's SS Panzer Corps, a mighty force meant to crush resistance, to push forward into Soviet territory, and to maintain the Reich's hold on the Eastern Front. Each of us carried that same sense of purpose, though it felt fragile, like ice in the wind. I could feel my hands trembling as I gripped the cold metal of my rifle, my body tense with both anticipation and dread. We were moving towards the heart of battle now, and everything felt uncertain. My heart was a dull drumbeat of fear and adrenaline, and I tried to steady it, but there was no steadying in a war like this. The Soviet defenses were strong. Their trenches and fortifications, their heavy artillery, their machine guns, these things were as unyielding as stone. We knew what awaited us. Our commander's voice came clear over the comms, giving orders, and the sound of German voices in unison made my chest tighten. Vorwärts, we always told ourselves. Forward. The battle for Kharkiv felt alive as soon as we hit the northern suburbs. The buildings loomed around us, concrete, brick, stone, in the air was alive with the smoke of distant fires and the distant thuds of artillery. We could hear the faint crackle of Soviet gunfire, their soldiers fighting with desperation and fury, unwilling to give up ground easily. We pushed through, and it felt like a wall of resistance. My hands gripped tighter on my rifle as we advanced. I could feel the strain of every step, the rumble of every tank, the movement of every German soldier. The cold was everywhere, freezing the sweat on my brow, numbing my fingers, but I could not stop. The enemy was close, and death waited at every corner. The day felt endless, the buildings destroyed and the snow stained with soot and blood. We fought every inch forward, firing our weapons, listening to the explosions of artillery and the sound of our comrades' voices. I saw men drop beside me, comrades, friends, soldiers I had shared meals with, laughed with in the cold, men whose eyes now stared lifeless into the gray sky. It was the first time I truly felt the weight of the war, the sheer, unyielding presence of death. My heart threatened to stop, but the orders came, and I kept moving. The battle pressed into the heart of the city. We broke through their defensive lines, pushing deeper, our panzers rolling forward, their heavy metal hulls crushing stone and snow. Our advance felt unstoppable, but it felt fragile at the same time. By the end of that long, harrowing day, we had advanced far enough to reach a position just 2 blocks north of Dzerzhinsky Square. I could see it now, the wide stone square looming in the distance, its buildings torn apart by fire, its streets littered with debris. The sun had set, and the cold dark had swallowed the city. All that remained was smoke and the faint glow of burning ruins. We had made progress, but the sense of victory felt hollow. My body ached, my hands were frozen, and my mind felt foggy. I looked at the men around me, their faces pale and their expressions worn. Some were checking their weapons, some were looking at the fires in the distance, and some were simply staring at the snow. We had pressed forward. We had broken through their defenses. But at what cost? The air was alive with tension. We could feel the presence of the enemy nearby, their resistance stubborn and unyielding. There would be more fighting ahead, more battles to endure, more cities to take, more lives to be lost. And yet, all I could feel was the cold, the weight of my rifle, the endless march of orders and fear. Forward. That was the only thing that mattered. The only thing I could hold on to. I pulled my helmet tighter against my head and forced my body to relax just for a moment. I stared at the glow of distant fire and tried to steady my breathing. The war was far from over. But for now, we had pushed forward into the heart of Kharkiv. And I was alive. For now. Thanks for watching. If you like our content, please subscribe.